So this is part 3 of the truth has fallen in the street from Isaiah 59:14. And judgment is turned away backward, and justice standeth afar off. For truth is fallen in the street, and equity cannot enter. Truth has fallen in the street in the United States of America. So there's my 4 points in the message, and it's the 4th point that I want to talk about in this video. Truth cannot be found in the mass media today in America. Now, why is that so? Well, propaganda is perfectly legal in the United States. No source of information is under any obligation to convey truth to you or me, thanks to NDAA 2013, Section 1078. It started out as the Smith-Mont Modernization Act. A governing board appointed by the President screens all media. 7 major corporations own and control all mass media. The U.S. government and the 7 major corporations control just about everything that appears in mass media. Now, I try to make a little distinction there and say, P.S. soon, small media, which is not mass media, like my YouTube channel, will come under attack and censorship. So there are some very, very tiny trickles of sources of truth. However, those trickles will soon be plugged, and truth will not be found anywhere in the streets of America. So I want to go right into the bill or the legislation that was passed in National Defense Administrative Act 2013, Section 1078. Now I'm going to give you my summary of it, and then we'll try to actually take a look at it. I did in the last video. I tried to take a look at it, show you the document itself, and encourage you to go to it. Remember, use source documents. Do not use people's websites and propaganda about the legalization of propaganda. So what you have to understand is this was a revision of something that was enacted in 1948. 1948, you had the Information and Exchange Act, and it was brought to Congress by Smith and Mont. Now, they were observing that in World War II, Nazi Germany was basically controlled exclusively through Nazi propaganda. And so they wanted the United States to be free of propaganda on U.S. residents and citizens. So it was passed that propaganda could be broadcast to foreign nations, but not to U.S. citizens. Now that was the act in 1948. The Information Education Exchange Act. Now, the NDAA 2013 Section 1078 updates the Information Exchange Act of 1948. And it began as what was called the Smith-Mont Modernization Act, House Resolution. I don't have the number for you, but there should be a number right here where it started as this. Now these are the two that brought about the 1948 Act that said we never want to put propaganda on our own citizens. Now all that changed with the passage of NDAA 2013 that allows for broadcast and dissemination of propaganda to U.S. audiences. That's the way they word it. They talk about audiences. They don't really talk about citizens, okay? In other words, their movie projector can be filled with lies, distortions, false information, misinformation, and that movie projector can run anywhere, in any television station, any radio station, any magazine, any newspaper, or anything on the internet for that matter. Now previously, as I was trying to present to you previously, propaganda was only permitted to foreign audiences. Okay? Now, with the passage of NDAA 2013, Section 1078, there is a board that watches over all media. Board of Governors. So no television station, no radio station, no magazine, no newspaper is under any obligation to speak truth. No television station, no radio station, no newspaper, no magazine, no internet source is under any obligation to speak truth to the American people. In other words, it's a license to fabricate lies and deceptions. Well, I think now probably you're watching this and you're stunned and you might want to just click off and go to another channel. That's okay, I'm used to it. I'm used to people completely being oblivious to what I'm saying. Completely. I mean totally. Anesthetized. I've seen it over and over and over again. Now, most countries in the world are under control of information by their governments. In other words, there's very few places in the world that you can go that the mass media has not already been seized by the governments, and the governments are telling people exactly what to think all the time on anything. So probably right now you're experiencing what's called cognitive dissonance, which means you have two conflicting things in your mind, and one of them must go. And I would say about 98% of the time when I talk about this, it's my voice that goes. It's my presentation. It's my insisting that people realize that the whole U.S. is under propaganda. They will not accept it. They refuse to because of this. It's called cognitive dissonance. You have two conflicting things in your mind, and the most likely one to go is the new one. Now I illustrate this by a story about my sister. When she was a little girl, she was told by the neighbor boy there was no Santa Claus. And she was so upset that she actually struck him. My sister was very skinny and feeble in a sense, and he was kind of big and strong and muscular. But that's exactly what happens, that maybe right now you would like to strike out at me because of cognitive dissonance and say, you're the liar, you're the one that needs to get knocked out of my mind, out of my life. So you will object and you will insist that your favorite commentator is telling you the truth. You will insist that the channel or the station that you love gives you the truth. You will insist, okay? In fact, probably right now, if you're one of those, you want to end this video and end watching anything on my channel. Okay, so over the years, since the passage of this, and I have tried here and there with people, my own family members included. I have tried with folks in church life. I don't really try too much anymore because it's almost completely in vain. Now, many people want to believe that they have not been lied to, have not been lied to. They will be very stubborn and very insistent, because what it means is you have to revamp, you have to re-educate yourself, you have to lower your pride and say, yes, it did happen to me. Now, this was very difficult for me, but once I did it, I was free, and I'm free to make a video like this. I'm free to talk to you like this. Now, there's going to be some nationalism involved, in that you'll say I'm an American and not in the U.S. Well, if we're going to go by the legislation it's in writing. But people will still say this. No, not in the U.S. I'm not being propagandized. So what's my counsel? Just stop fighting it and just say, yes, I've been propagandized. Yes, I've sat in front of the television set. Yes, I believed it, almost all of it, all the time. You were a sponge. Now listen, I was too. I was a sponge. In fact, there was a time I was like a mass media junkie. It was one of my majors at university. To major in communication. I had a double major. That was one of them. So for me, it was an incredible experience to be able to say something like, I just have to ditch everything that came at me through mass media. Now, many, many people will not do this, and hence they can and they will remain a sponge of the mass media. So rather than being a sponge of the mass media, be a sponge of God's holy word, the scriptures. Now, you might expect that from me. Spend your time here. You won't regret it. Don't sit in front of the television set and absorb everything you're being told. In fact, I remember going cold turkey like I was addicted, and deliberately getting away from all of it. We'd go to a fast food place like a McDonald's and just want to have some food, and they have the television on. And what's the television on? Well, none other than the news and mass media. So you can fight this as long as you want. You can dismiss me and dismiss what I'm saying immediately, or you can stop and go somewhere and just say, let me think about this. Maybe this is true. Maybe we are being propagandized on many, many things, if not all things. Okay? Now, certainly I want to be your friend. I want to be like a godly counsel. I don't want to be your enemy. But, you know, the truth is the truth. And face up to it. Okay, so here it is. The section 1078, right up there, you see it? Section 1078, dissemination abroad of information about the United States. That's updating the 1948 Act. Now notice it starts out about the Secretary and Board of Governors. So anytime you watch something on television or listen to radio or read a newspaper, say to yourself, the Secretary and the Board of Broadcasting Governors are there, or their associates, monitoring the television station or radio station or the newspaper or the magazine. So I'm trying to scroll this so that you can read it on your own. You can look it up, go to the source document. Do not go to individual websites. This is a source document. Do you need a law degree to understand it? Yeah, almost. It seems that way. And it's hard to get through because it's so technical. Now it says here that they're going to archive it for 12 years. In other words, hide it for 12 years. And then it appears to me that you have to pay money to get it out of the archives. And even then, you may not get it out of the archives unless you have authorization. In other words, it seems like it's going to be buried. The secrets will be buried. And then they used to call declassifying information or making things available through the Freedom of Information Act. I don't know how it all enters in, but what I do know is you've been propagandized. I have been propagandized. Our land has been propagandized. And truth has fallen in the street of America. Now there, it's in writing. So I'm not going to try to read this to you, and I'm not going to say that I understand all the technical jargon, but I am going to say to you, if you need a source document, you've got it. Now I will warn you that if you try to inform someone, once again, they will have cognitive dissonance and they will shut you down. They will want nothing to do with what you've said. Truth has fallen in the street. Go to the truth of God's holy word. Thank you for watching. End of video.